刚刚有个女孩子一边给我打电话一边哭诉。
A girl just called me, crying and saying she was deceived. She said she went out for a meal with a guy, but the guy left halfway through, and she felt particularly wronged and angry. As soon as I heard this, I felt something was wrong, so I quickly contacted the guy to find out what had really happened. Let me briefly introduce the situation. The girl is from Shanghai, born in 1995, and is currently working as a teacher in a school. Last week, I introduced her to a guy, also from Shanghai, born in 1992, working in a government institution. I thought they were quite suitable, so I arranged for them to meet at a popular mall in Shanghai. They had already chatted for 2 days and felt pretty good about each other, so they decided to have a meal together. After meeting, the guy asked the girl what she wanted to eat, and the girl recommended a restaurant she thought was good. The guy agreed and went with her. But as soon as they arrived at the restaurant, the guy noticed that the place was very luxuriously decorated. Once inside and after looking at the menu, the guy started to feel uneasy because the prices were extremely high. Even a simple egg fried rice cost 238 yuan. Although he felt uncomfortable, the guy wanted to make a good impression, thinking that since he liked the girl, it was worth spending some money, so he ordered a few dishes with her. Before the food arrived, the girl received a call from her best friend, who said she was nearby. Without discussing it with the guy, the girl directly invited her best friend to join them for dinner. The guy felt a bit awkward but didn't want to refuse, thinking it would just cost a bit more, but it would be worth it if the relationship succeeded. However, when the friend arrived, the girl spent the entire time chatting with her and completely ignored the guy. The guy felt very uncomfortable but didn't want to show it, so he kept eating while texting his brother, hinting that he needed a rescue call. Before long, the call came, and the guy used the excuse that his brother couldn't find the place, so he had to go pick him up. The guy took this opportunity to step out of the restaurant and told the waiter that they were splitting the bill. He had already paid his part, and the rest would be handled by the girl and her friend. Then the guy left. Over 20 minutes later, the girl called and asked why the guy hadn't returned yet. The guy replied that he had something to do with his friend and had to leave, suggesting they meet another time. Unexpectedly, the girl became anxious and asked, "If you're gone, who's going to pay the bill?" After hearing this, the guy felt completely disillusioned. He answered directly, "I've already paid my part, the rest is up to you too." After hearing this, the girl's attitude suddenly became gentle, and she said to the guy, "I invited my friend over just so she could meet my future boyfriend. Could you come back and settle the bill? That way, you can leave a good impression on her too." Before the girl could finish speaking, the guy hung up the phone and immediately blocked her contact. Do you think the guy did the right thing?
当时我是答应相亲过程当中一切费用由我来买单。
At that time, I indeed agreed that during the blind date, I would cover all the expenses. This is a tradition in my hometown. The girl I went on the blind date with had mentioned in advance that she would bring some people to join us for the meal. I assumed she would bring at most 2 or 3 friends, which didn't seem like a big deal. But to my surprise, she actually brought over 20 people. Later, when we were halfway through the meal, I went to settle the bill. The boss calculated, and I found out that the meal would cost over 10,000 yuan. At that moment, I only had 6,000 yuan on me, so I really couldn't afford to pay for this. I then made an excuse to go to the restroom and secretly ran away. My monthly salary is only 4 to 5,000 yuan. It would take me half a year to save up for this meal, and my family isn't very wealthy either. After this incident, I never dared to go on blind dates again.
Today, a friend introduced a woman for me to meet for a blind date. I brought her here to eat noodles. You all can take a look at her. She's a divorced woman that my friend introduced. She looks okay, right? But as soon as we met, she told me she was hungry, so we didn't chat much, and I brought her here to eat. This time, I brought her to eat at a street stall. So how is it? Are you full? If you're not full, I can order you another bowl of noodles. Sai, this woman is very quiet. She hasn't really spoken to me. I guess she doesn't fancy me. Here, the most famous thing is these noodles, 5 yuan per bowl. Every time I go home, I have to eat a bowl here. The taste is just too good. Sai, after we finished eating a bowl of noodles, She told me she was ready to go home. I told her I'd take her home later. She said I didn't need to take her home, she'd go back on her own. I don't know how she feels about me. I guess it's not going to work out. Just now, after we met, I suggested we go to a park and sit for a while and chat, but she didn't seem too interested. We found a noodle shop, and I treated her to a bowl of noodles. Before she even finished eating, she hurriedly left without waiting for me. It seems like this blind date is a bust again. I'm starting to reflect. Maybe it's because I don't look wealthy enough, or maybe my financial situation made her think I'm not worth getting to know further. For our first meeting, we didn't go to a hotel or any other fancy place because I simply can't afford it. Perhaps taking her to eat simple street food made her unhappy. If that's the case, then there's no need to continue this relationship. After all, if someone looks down on me just because of these superficial things, there's no point in continuing. Now, I'm sitting alone in the park. Originally, I wanted to chat with the girl after dinner, but she left before finishing her noodles. To be honest, I don't really understand what she was thinking. Maybe she just wasn't interested in me at all. Or maybe she disliked that I took her to such a cheap place for our first meeting, thinking I'm stingy and unwilling to spend money on her. But the truth is, I really don't have much money. My financial situation isn't good. If she gives up because of that, then I can only accept reality. Anyway, this blind date ended the same way as all the others, with no outcome. I'm used to it. Actually, living alone is quite comfortable. You can go wherever you want. Although I've gone on countless blind dates, I always end up being rejected. Now, I'm just sitting in this park, still observing if there's any single woman willing to talk to me. There's a girl over there playing on her phone, but I don't dare to approach her. Maybe it's because I feel that my conditions aren't good enough, and I don't have much money. Forget it. This time it's just like that. I just want to sit quietly for a while without any expectations.
女子相信带上4个闺蜜，饭钱5000多。
2 days ago, something amusing happened here in Chengdu. A woman went on a blind date but not only showed up herself, she also brought along 4 of her close friends. The scene was quite lively. However, the meal was not cheap, with the final bill totaling over 5,000 yuan. To everyone's surprise, they not only ordered a lot of dishes but also 3 lobsters and 2 golden crabs, planning to take them home. This made the date's male companion feel very awkward. Feeling very displeased with such a high bill, the man took advantage of a trip to the restroom to quietly leave the restaurant, choosing to avoid paying. When the woman discovered his disappearance, she was furious and immediately called the police, demanding that the man cover the high meal cost. However, the man firmly disagreed, stating that he hadn't eaten a single bite, and there was surveillance footage from the restaurant to prove it. The investigation revealed that all the dishes were ordered by the woman and her friends, and the man indeed hadn't eaten any of the food. After the incident was exposed, it sparked a lot of heated discussion. Many people supported the man's actions, believing he should not pay for such an extravagant meal, and some even thought his actions were satisfying, giving the rude women a lesson. However, some female netizens were dissatisfied, arguing that the man should have expressed his objections when ordering or discussed splitting the bill beforehand instead of leaving without paying, showing a lack of grace. They believed that even if he didn't want to share the bill with the woman, he should have at least contributed to the cost with the other 5 people, rather than paying nothing. In the end, the police found the man, but he remained adamant about not paying any part of the bill, believing he had no responsibility. Those who disagreed with the man's actions suggested that those who don't support him should try to understand his awkward situation.
现在啊，有些男的真的是太没素质了。
Some men nowadays really lack basic decency. My date yesterday was supposed to treat us to dinner, so I brought 8 of my girlfriends along. At the dinner table, I mentioned that my required dowry is 2.8 million renminbi, 2 cars, and 2 houses. He generously agreed. The meal cost only 28,000 renminbi, but unexpectedly he made an excuse to step outside for a phone call and then never returned. He's unreachable now. I'm baffled. How can there be such shameless men? If you don't have money, why come on a date? You might as well stay at home. Such people deserve to remain single their entire lives.
Many older women nowadays love to flaunt themselves online. Today, they go on a date with one man, tomorrow with another, and the day after with yet another. They dress up extravagantly, thinking they're highly attractive and valuable. They always start by talking about luxury cars and villas. As soon as these unfortunate men encounter them, they're either busy shopping for bags or dining in fancy restaurants. Today, she might ask for a red envelope for her birthday, and tomorrow, she might demand medical expenses for her sick mother. They will use various means to extract money from you, exploiting you until you go bankrupt, and only then will they move on to the next man.
The total cost of my date with that guy was only 5,000 yuan, which really isn't much. But he wasn't even willing to pay that amount. On our first meeting, I brought my friend along and accidentally ordered a bit more food. When it came time to settle the bill, the guy only paid 2,000 yuan and said that since he was a man, he would contribute an extra 1,000 yuan, and the rest would be up to us. We had never encountered such a selfish man before. In the end, not only did he fail to cover the entire bill, but he also didn't help us get a taxi home and just left me and my friend stranded. He didn't consider our feelings at all. I found out that he was simply a jerk.
To be honest, after reading this girl's comments, I have to say, it wasn't an accident that you ordered too much food. You clearly went out to eat. If no one had called you out, you wouldn't even realize what you were doing. You and your friend hadn't eaten for 3 days, so you might have been starving, which is why you acted this way. Honestly, you don't need to explain that this is some noble act. You were just another type of freeloader with a different approach. Some people beg for food, while you use the excuse of a date to get a free meal and drinks. This is also a way of freeloading, just more disguised. Recently, something both amusing and embarrassing happened in Chengdu. In a luxury goods store, a couple was shopping together. After the woman selected a handbag worth 20,000 to 30,000 yuan, she turned around and asked the man to pay for it. To her surprise, the man calmly replied, "You picked out this item yourself, so of course you should pay for it. I've been accompanying you for so long. It doesn't mean I should foot the bill." The woman was momentarily stunned, thinking the man would pay for her purchase. The man continued, "When did I ever say I would buy this bag? I'm here to make you happy by shopping with you. But since you chose the item, you should pay for it yourself." The woman, still somewhat unwilling to accept this, found herself facing the man, loudly proclaiming, "Everyone, come look. This woman can't even afford to pay for her own items." The man then asked her, "Can you even remember my name? Do you know who I am? Since you chose this, you should pay for it yourself." Passers-by gave her odd looks as she stood there, embarrassed and at a loss. It turned out that this couple had met online. The man had been pursuing the woman, but her attitude towards him was always ambiguous, merely using him to buy gifts. After frequent arguments, the woman demanded that the man buy her a gift as a way to make amends. The man, having seen through her game, decided to teach her a lesson. This incident exposed their irresponsibility towards their relationship, where they didn't even know each other's real names and merely maintained an ambiguous connection. Although the man's actions were somewhat extreme, the woman had always relied on material things and depended on the man to spend money. This behavior was not only irresponsible to herself, but also disrespectful to others. Some girls seem to think that they should have a price tag, expecting every suitor to pay for them. Such values are truly concerning. While vanity is a common flaw, when it goes too far, it ends up harming oneself. The man's refusal to purchase luxury items during an ordinary date was rational, but his approach was clearly excessive. Although his stance may have some merit, his method was inappropriate. If you go on a date with a girl and she brings her friend along, don't be discouraged. Generally, if a girl is interested in you, she definitely wouldn't bring a friend along as it might make her feel awkward or uncomfortable. However, if she does bring a friend, it could mean she's not very interested in you, or she just wants to keep a certain distance and perhaps even enjoy a free meal. In this situation, you can use some strategies to change the scenario. Sometimes a girl's psychology can be quite complex. Even if she doesn't have strong feelings for you, she might not want others to get you out of jealousy. Therefore, you can pay special attention to her friend during the date. For example, inquire about her friend's preferences and dislikes, actively help her friend with her bag, open doors for her, or even ask if she's thirsty and needs something to drink. Doing so can make the girl feel that you're showing more attention to her friend, which might create some competitive feelings. When the girl sees how well you're treating her friend, she might worry that you could be taken away by her friend. Girls usually don't like seeing the man who's been pursuing them being taken by another woman. They can share almost anything with friends, except for men. If you've been pursuing her for a while, she might instinctively believe that you should belong to her. So, she might reconsider your relationship and even think more seriously about your future together. She could start to value you more due to jealousy or reduce the frequency of bringing friends along on dates. If the girl asks why you're being so nice to her friend, you can honestly explain that you're doing it in hopes that her friend will speak well of you in front of her. This response is not only sincere, but also shows that you are genuine and considerate. This way, you might change her view of you and improve your romantic relationship.